At a glance, Argentina looks like the next big thing in online betting, like a total digital gold rush. But when you look just a little closer, the story gets a whole lot more complicated and a whole lot riskier. Today, we're diving into Argentina's massive online betting gamble. All right, let's just start with the number that gets everyone's attention. By 2025, the regulated online gaming market in Argentina is expected to be worth a staggering $1.5 billion. And to put that into perspective for you, that's not just a big number. That is more than the entire online gambling markets of Chile and Colombia combined. So yeah, we are talking about a truly massive opportunity here. So why all the hype? Well, because Argentina is basically tailor-made for this. I mean, look at these numbers. 97% of people have a smartphone, 90% are on the internet, and get this, 70% of all online transactions already happen on a mobile device. It is the absolute perfect recipe for an online betting boom. It's really no surprise that people are calling this Argentina's digital gold rush, right? Every single sign points to a market that is just sitting there waiting to explode. Okay, but you know how this goes. A market that looks this perfect has to have a catch. And in Argentina's case, oh, it is a big one. And that brings us to the single biggest challenge of trying to do business in Argentina. You see, it's not really one nation. It's a nation of 24 completely separate rules. The key phrase you have to understand is provincial fragmentation. What this means is, this isn't one country with one set of laws. Nope, it's a system where every single one of Argentina's 24 provinces has the independent power to make its own gambling laws, issue its own licenses, and create its own regulations. So think about what that actually means. You're not entering one market. You're trying to enter 24 completely separate markets, and every single one has its own unique, complicated rulebook. It is an operational nightmare. Just to paint a picture for you, imagine trying to get national coverage, okay? You work hard, you get a license in Buenos Aires, huge market, great start. But now you want to operate in Cordoba? Well, you have to start the entire process from scratch with a completely different set of rules. And then you've got to do that 22 more times. It's unbelievable. But believe it or not, the regulatory maze isn't even the whole story. We also have to talk about the staggering price you have to pay just to play the game legally. The tax situation is, well, it's a mess. It's not one simple tax. It's this multi-layered beast where you're paying a provincial tax on your revenue, a federal tax on every single player deposit, then corporate income tax, and sometimes even another provincial turnover tax. It's just layer on top of layer on top of layer. And when you add all of those dizzying layers together, you get this. The total effective tax rate on your revenue, if you are a legal, licensed operator in Argentina, is somewhere between 37 and 62%. And let's be perfectly clear about this. A tax burden that high makes Argentina one of the most expensive, most financially punishing markets on planet Earth to operate in legally. So this creates what is basically an impossible economic battlefield. On one side, you have the licensed legal operator paying up to 62% in taxes. And who's their biggest competitor? The offshore black market operator who pays 0. The disadvantage is just astronomical. So with a setup like that, is this number really a surprise? A staggering 90%, that's 90, of the entire online betting market in Argentina right now is run by offshore, unlicensed sites. The insane cost of going legal is pushing almost all the business into the shadows. So after all that, what's the final verdict? Where do we land? All this complexity, all this cost, it really leads to one very clear conclusion. This quote from our source material really just says it all perfectly. Argentina is, quote, a frustrating paradox, significant market potential completely undermined by impossible operating economics. The opportunity is absolutely massive, but the system itself makes it nearly impossible to actually succeed. So who should just stay away? Honestly, based on these economics, this market is a no-go zone for startups, for smaller operators, and for any business that needs to see a return on its investment in under, say, 3 years. It's just not going to happen. Casino-only platforms? Forget about it. So who on earth could succeed here? Well, the profile of a potential winner is incredibly narrow. We're talking about huge international operators with like $10 million plus in capital just to get in the door. We're talking about companies with a 5-year plan who are fully prepared to literally lose money for 2, 3, maybe 4 years just to build scale and hope things change down the road. And that leaves us with this one final mind-bending question. How is it possible to have a billion-dollar market that almost nobody can actually win? That right there is the paradox of Argentina's online betting gamble.